There is a connecting link between you and everything in this universe is connected to this thing called intention. I'd like to suggest to you that everything that you can look around and see and touch and experience with your senses originated someplace else. You are in this world, folks, but you are not of this world. And you showed up here in this world of form and boundaries and beginnings and ends. You showed up from a field called intention. And you were intended into this universe and into this world by this force field that I'm calling intention. In my new book, The Power of Intention, which is a year or so away from being published, I'm calling intention something that is a future pull that is invisible. Every acorn has intention in it to become an oak tree or whatever it is to become. Every apple blossom that just looks like a little flaky pieces of flowery substance is nothing but the future pull of an apple. And in you, in a tiny little drop of human protoplasm that collided with another one at the moment of your parents getting together, and this thing that we called conception, there was a dot. A tiny little microscopic dot. It happened in a tiny microsecond, a dot. And in that little tiny dot that you can't even see with the naked eye, that you need a microscope to see, in that dot was everything that you were destined to become as a physical being. Your height, your weight, the color of your skin, the color of your eyes, the length of your arms, and the length of everything else, what droops, what doesn't. Everything that was, and here you are, sitting here, watching it, observing it, noticing it, and you know that there's nothing but who you are is nothing but a ghost in the machine. You're watching it and you're observing it. And it's going to go through its paces and do what it was destined to do in the moment of that microscopic dot, right? Quantum physics teaches us that particles themselves are not responsible for more particles. St. Paul could have told you that 2,000 years ago. That which is seen hath not come from that which doth appear. The source of everything is not in the physical world. So, let's go back to intention. If everything that you were destined to become is in that little microscopic dot, and that microscopic dot originated from something that has no form to it, is it possible that your physiology and everything that you were destined to become was determined in a world in which there is no form before it ever got into form? Why not? That's where it all came from. Now, if everything that you were physically destined to become is in that microscopic dot, and that dot came from the world of spirit, let's call it spirit, then why isn't it possible that everything that you were destined to become that is not in the physical dimension, that is every thought and every emotion and every great expectation that God has of you and everything that you're capable of becoming, why isn't that in there as well? That intention is a field of energy from which you originated, not a set of particles in a moment of conception. And if that's the case, if you can accept that, then you have to say, what does intention look like? What do you think if you had magical binoculars that you could somehow adjust the focus, and you looked over here through these binoculars, and in there you could see the field from which all things emanate? If you could see it, what do you think it would look like? Well, I've just written a whole book about it. And one of those chapters is called The 7 Faces of Intention. I suggest to you that intention has a look to it, that this invisible energy field from which the dot that became you emanated has certain characteristics or qualities. First of all, it is creative. It wants to create. It has to create. The universal force from which all things emanate is creative. It is kind. It is loving. It is love. It is beauty. The universal field from which you emanated is beautiful and only brings beauty into this universe. It is receptive to all. It is abundant, endlessly abundant, endlessly abundant. There is no limit to it. You must be in the same field as that from which you emanated in order to understand intention.